Rug Delver. On your right, Mann has won a Legacy Open earlier this year during Season 1 in Atlanta with Rug Delver. It was actually on my birthday when I messed up my foot and I couldn't be there to watch it. Tough to watch. He's also top-8 a couple other tournaments with Rug Delver, but he's been playing this deck for a while. Uppal, the youngster from the Indianapolis area, made the trip out here to Baltimore this summer. I imagine school is not in session, so he is doing battle as well with Rug Delver. So this is kind of the land destruction mirror, honestly.
Yeah, and Uppal generally plays bug shells. I mean, I've seen him play Shardless Bug, Bug Delver. I haven't really seen him play Rug Delver yet, but obviously he's very familiar with Legacy. Played against the deck a lot for sure. So this matchup, very, very skill intensive, the mirror, and you know, Mann obviously almost as close to an expert as you can get with this deck, considering how much he plays it.
Mann's his take on this is a little bit different. It actually looks like Mann is playing Bug Delver. He's got Liliana and he's got looks like Deathrite Shaman.
Oh
so
yeah,
he's
this
on Bug.
This is the Bug though. Yeah,
we're so used to him playing Rug that that's actually what we just assumed that he was on. But he's actually playing Bug Delver, which is a little bit surprising to me since he always does play Rug Delver.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically still got, he gave up Nimble Mongoose. He's playing Deathrite Shaman instead. Obviously, a staple of the Legacy format. And he does have a couple copies of Liliana the Veil. So not the typical bugged list that you're seeing, that you were accustomed to.
We've got a Ponder here to begin our action in round number 4 of 9. You see a Nimble Mongoose, a Misty Rainforest, and Tropical Island is what Uppal's looking at. He's obviously done some mulliganing here. As you can see, his hand is not very full of cards. He's going to keep with the Ponder, take the Misty Rainforest before passing the turn back. Mann going to draw a card. You see there's a Brainstorm and Abrupt Decay, a Verdant Catacombs hiding out over there. There's also a Wasteland as well. So,
yeah, if you're Mann, you're probably tempted to Wasteland here just because it means that you don't have to worry about Stifle. But let's see what he wants to do here. If he has a, looks like he's going to lead with the Verdant Catacombs instead, possibly to try to dig for some more action with a Brainstorm or a Ponder if he has one. Obviously, Deathrite Shaman, the ideal play here if he has it.
Yeah. Get the party started. The big thing about Deathrite Shaman, of course, is it's going to catch you up when you're on the draw.
Yeah. Deathrite Shaman, just such a powerful card. I wonder if when WotC made it, they knew it would have this kind of impact across all formats.
Yeah, the place where it happens to be the worst is just standard. I mean,
yeah.
Part of the reason Deathrite Shaman's so good is just because of the fetch lands. That's a lot of people's argument is there is Deathrite Shaman on turn 1. So one could argue the best play that Mann could have on the draw here in this matchup. Yeah,
great start for Mann. His deck is very similar to Rug Delver in terms of, it has the Ponders and the Brainstorms and Delver Secrets, obviously, and all that permission package. However, it's not nearly as much of a land destruction or tempo-based deck. It doesn't have Stifle. It does have Wasteland, but Deathrite Shaman can really help it kind of jump ahead of some of the other decks in the format.
Misty Rainforest up a little sacrifice. Again, he did keep with that Ponder. So he's going to search out a Volcanic Island. It does have the 2 colors of mana.
You can still get store credit by trading in your cards, but
we'll see what he wants to deploy on this turn.
Yeah, this is the problem with Delver. If you don't get one of those 1-drops into play on turn 1, but he got into Mongoose in play on turn 2. That card's really pretty good against Bug. Obviously, Liliana the Veil is one of the cards that can stop it.
See the sequencing here by Uppal as well. He started with the Nimble Mongoose and then the Ponder. Probably playing around Daze a little bit here. He's probably okay if the Ponder gets dazed and not the Nimble Mongoose because he doesn't. I don't think he has another creature in his hand. Yeah, and he doesn't. He has a Brainstorm and a Stifle. So he's going to Ponder here, look at a Brainstorm, a Forked Bolt, and a Stifle. We'll see if he does want to keep these or not. And it looks like he's going to. So he has a Stifle to his hand. And there's a Brainstorm, and I believe another Stifle. So Uppal just going to simply pass the turn back here in just a moment.
And the tricky thing for Uppal is he doesn't know exactly what Mann is playing. I mean, he's seen a Verdant Catacombs and a Deathrite Shaman and an Underground Sea. That could be a number of different decks in Legacy. If it's Esper Blade, then he probably doesn't have to worry about Daze that much. However, we know Mann is playing Bug. He's got 4 copies of Daze in his deck. However, there are some Bug variants that don't even play Daze. He could be playing Shardless Bug. Uppal really doesn't know what exactly he needs to be playing around, which is kind of one of the benefits of playing a deck like Bug, just because there are so many different variants of it out there.
There is a Wasteland. Now we're going to add some mana with Deathrite Shaman. I'm going to fire off a Hymn to Torak. Now this will open things up a little bit as to what he's playing.
Yeah.
There's him and Wasteland. Now, Shardless Bug can't play both of those cards, but typically you'll find in between 2 to 3 copies of him and maybe 1 or 2 Wastelands at the most. it's when Man actually plays the Delver Secrets that Uppal will know exactly what he is up against. Is the him is going to take care of the Ponder and the Stifle, leaving Uppal with a Brainstorm.
And yeah, so he's left with just one card left in his hand, and Man still has that Wasteland that he can choose to deploy, taking out his Uppal's last green source if he wants, preventing him from possibly casting a Tarmogoyf.
See if he wants to fire off a Wasteland now. It seems like a pretty good spot to do so. You have the mana advantage because you have Deathrite Shaman. You can cut a color. You have to, of course, decide which one. He's going to go a Tropical Island, leaving Uppal with just red and blue mana. Fork Bolt is the draw. It's actually pretty important because we're going to go Fork Bolting on that Deathrite Shaman. That's going to allow Uppal to actually keep parity on the mana, and also that's the 7th card in the graveyard for Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah, and Nimble Mongoose, like we said, it's not easy for Bug Delver to kind of deal with that card. Obviously, he can block it with Tarmogoyf. But in terms of getting it off the board, there's really not many cards short of a Liliana the Veil.
So Man's got a little bit of catching up to do. Again, Uppal doesn't have much. He's got that Nimble Mongoose, he's got that Volcanic Island, and a Brainstorm in his hand. He also knows next the card that is coming from the Brainstorm 2 turns ago.
Yeah, and it's a tough spot for Man because if you look at his hand, obviously that Deathrite Shaman was really important because he wants to be able to Brainstorm and then play a 2-mana spell, likely Tarmogoyf. So maybe knowing that, maybe you get rid of the red source just to make sure your creature can't get bolted. Obviously, maybe he's afraid of casting a green card, of his opponent casting like a Tarmogoyf or something, but you have answers to Tarmogoyf. A second Nimble Mongoose would be bad for you, but again, knowing how important Deathrite Shaman is for you, you likely might want to get rid of the red. However, it looks like he has a second Deathrite Shaman on top of his deck in this Ponder, so he might choose to keep that if he has a land to cast it with.
He got pretty quickly. Let's see what the last card is. So he took a land. He's going to play Underground Sea. Now there's a Delver Secret. So now Uppal knows exactly what he's up against, too.
Yeah.
That's important. And I imagine that Man has organized his deck in such a way that the Delver is going to flip next turn.
Yeah, and I believe the card on top is Daze as well. So that's going to put more pressure on Justin because he's only got 1 mana. So it's going to be hard for him to resolve a spell through Daze.
Yeah, you see Man is, using his life total as a resource here. He's only down to 13.
Yeah.
He can take a couple of hits. He does have to be wary of, Lightning Bolts maybe finishing the job, so he doesn't want to go too low. But he can flip his Delver here. Of course, can trade with the No Mongoose, with the Insectile Aberration if he'd like to. So he's doing just fine, I think. He just needs to make sure that he can convert all these cards and actually cast them all. Because if he's able to do that, I think he's going to win the game.
Yeah, and I believe he still has a Deathrite on top of his library.
That's the next card.
He could actually Brainstorm now, cast the Deathrite, and play Verdant Catacombs and leave up Spell Pierce plus Daze mana if he wants to, as well as shuffle away some cards that he doesn't want. Again, to getting that Deathrite into play, not only does it help accelerate his mana, but it also puts him in a position where he can easily race the Nimble Mongoose because he can either drain Justin or gain 2 life.
Yeah. It's a Brainstorm here on the main phase. You saw Man pick up a Force of Will, that Deathrite Shaman that we mentioned, and a Bayou. So it's time to put a couple cards back. It looks like it's going to be Force of Will and Bayou. Force of Will looks like it's going to go on top, as Man does look at the rest of his hand to decide what he wants to do. He does also have that Verdant Catacombs there to make it a perfect Brainstorm.
Yeah, so good situation here is Steven if he wants to shuffle away that Force of Will in the land. Probably don't really need that card those cards in this situation.
There's the Deathrite. Man, a little bit wary because he does know he's playing against Rug Delver, and Steven has played Rug Delver in his life, so Stifle is a card that's on his radar right now. And he also sees the Stifle in the graveyard too, so doesn't want to walk right into that with that fetch land. Uppal is going to play a Brainstorm. Wouldn't be surprised to see Man either 1, daze this, or 2, fetch right now while the shields are down for Uppal.
Yeah, the tricky thing for Steve here is, though, does he want to go for a Bayou? Because he doesn't really have access to green mana other than the Deathrite Shaman. But if he goes for the Bayou and Justin does have a Wasteland, then he exposes himself a little bit. So I'm not sure what Steve wants to do here. I could see just the Daze. So, and yeah, it looks like he's just going to Daze there. I like that play.
I like dazing that a lot.
Yeah.
Uppal, you can tell, he doesn't have anything. He needs that Brainstorm Resolve to try to get back in this game, so I like dazing there a lot. Not going to sacrifice Verdant Catacombs just yet, it looks like. Okay, he will on his upkeep. So he's going to go down to 9. We'll see what land he wants to search up. He did mention Bayou being a pretty good choice. Same thing can be said for Tropical Island. I think he probably wants a green source at this point.
Yeah, considering he's got another Underground Sea in his hand, yeah, he just wants to get some green mana out there. Open up his options a little bit more. Steven in pretty good shape right here. Obviously, he's at 9, and he can't really interact with that Nimble Mongoose short of blocking it. But with between Deathrite Shaman and then Delver Secrets attacking, I think he's okay shape right now.
Mystery card coming. It is a Brainstorm, one of the best mystery cards you can draw. You see his hand right now, there's a Spell Pierce, there's an Abrupt Decay, there is that Underground Sea that we know about, and of course the Brainstorm he's just drawn for the turn. Deathrite Shaman is active now, and Insect Operation is probably interested in attacking. But Man is going to begin things, it looks like, with that newly drawn Brainstorm. So 3 cards coming for him, a Wasteland, a Bayou, and a Ponder.
Oof.
Those are relatively
Wasteland. Wasteland is so good there.
Isn't it fun?
He's going to be able to draw a Wasteland. Wasteland, Justin's last remaining mana source. Oh, it's not a Ponder.
Yeah. I don't even think he realizes. Okay, yeah, now he does.
Yeah.
Now he does, yeah. Yeah, that happens. It's really funny. That happens a lot. And,
Yeah.
you know, I remember a tournament we were covering. I think it was the finals between Braverman and Majors back when we were in Charlotte, where Braverman was trying to get back in the game. He cast a Ponder, but then put the cards in his hand because he thought it was a Brainstorm. And, you know, that was the last round of the tournament. It's like, you know, 2 a.m. It's a tough way to go, obviously, because the cards are so similar that you're basically doing the same thing every time. Because I kind of thought it was a Ponder there for a minute, too, as Man put those cards back. And it's like, no, you get to actually have a real card.
Especially because a Ponder was one of the 3 cards. So
Yep.
you're just thinking Ponder.
Yeah, yeah. Either way, he does, you know, put the cards back with Brainstorm. Wasteland's the volcanic island. And Uppal is, he's in some trouble here, obviously. You see his hand, Tropical Island, Force of Will, and a blue card. None of those cards are Lightning Bolt. He doesn't even have the necessary mana to cast Lightning Bolt at this point. And Man probably has that covered at this point. Deathrite Shaman can gain him life or start to drain a little bit, and he does have a Spell Pierce in his hand.
Yeah, so at this point, he probably doesn't really want to cast many other spells. Kind of just wants to leave a blue open for Spell Pierce and wants to be able to continue draining with Deathrite Shaman. But he's going to cast a Ponder here.
And we know he has an Underground Sea in his hand, so another blue land can be coming. There's another Wasteland on top of the deck, so it looks like probably going to keep that too.
Yeah, pretty good situation here for Man. He knows Uppal doesn't really have much action. The green source in play, it means it's not, he can't Lightning Bolt anything. So I think you probably keep these 3 cards, take the Wasteland. You're winning this race. You kill him in 2 turns. So pretty good spot for Steven here. Oh, but he is going to shuffle.
How do you pass up on the Wasteland there?
That's,
Maybe I'm greedy.
It's tough, but not sure what else he's looking for here. He is at 6. If you Wasteland, I guess he's afraid of Uppal having a Bolt in his hand and a Lightning Bolt, because if he plays Wasteland's a tropical island. If he goes to drain at the end of Uppal's turn and Uppal does have a red source, he basically can't drain because he dies to Bolt, because Nimble Mongoose will get the attack. He doesn't want to just chump block with his Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
The race is really tight here. So I kind of understand what Steven's trying to do here.
But Deathrite's got the other mode. We can just gain life.
The thing is, though, if Uppal, yes, but if Uppal attacks with Nimble Mongoose on his turn after you Wasteland him, what do? If he drew a red source and he has a Bolt in his hand, then you're just dead. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's basically a really tough spot for Steven if he does go for that Wasteland plan. So I think that's Steve's basically saying, I want to play an Underground Sea this turn so I can drain and Spell Pierce any potential Lightning Bolts.
Okay. All right. I can see that. I do like continuing to attack here. Because, I mean, the race is in your favor. Uppal's on a 2-turn clock. You know, if Uppal's going to attack this turn, Man can go down to 3, drain you, put you down to 5, attack you to 2, drain you again. So Uppal draws a copy of the Ataxian Probe for the turn. Looks like he's going to cast a Brainstorm here. See if Man has any interest in maybe a little Spell Pierce action on this one.
I don't think you can afford to Spell Pierce this.
He disagrees with you.
Only because if he's slow rolling a Bolt Volcanic Island, you're dead. But
You're not dead.
well, now you're in an awkward spot. Like, do you block? You know what I mean? It just
Well, yeah.
makes the situation awkward. You could gain life. I
Yeah,
mean,
just
you're
gain
right.
life.
You could just gain life here. You just you're not going to be killing just the next turn. You just give him an extra turn this way. Whereas if you don't Spell Pierce the Brainstorm, I just don't think it matters.
Sure. He's going to go down to 3. Now that's, like, if he goes to 3, that's a little scary, right?
It's just very awkward the way he's playing this game.
If he goes to 3 and then Uppal plays a Volcanic Island and says go, then things are terrible.
Yeah, unless you just have a really sick read on him.
Yeah.
I think he's just playing a little too loose those last few turns. He could have really just put himself in a dominating position to give Justin no outs.
Sure.
Even though Justin would have a very small percentage chance of winning,
Yeah.
you still give him that percentage. I mean,
Yeah.
you could have closed out all his outs.
I definitely agree with you. Like, if he takes the damage, like if he doesn't gain life before damage is dealt and he goes down to 3, and then Uppal plays Volcanic Island, then it's a disaster. I
Yeah,
agree
like
with you there.
you just think if the last 2 cards in Uppal's hand, however unlikely you may think it be, if it's Volcanic Island and Lightning Bolt, you basically just lose, right? Or you're in a very awkward spot.
You put yourself in a poor position.
Because you can't activate your Death Right Shaman.
Yeah.
Because he can respond by killing you.
Yeah.
So that means by definition you give Uppal an extra turn.
Yes. Either way, Stephen Mann does win game number 1 here over Justin Uppal. Bug Delver up a game over Rug Delver. Take a look at the sideboards. We will start with Uppal. He does have a Fluster Storm, a Pyroblast, a Red Elemental Blast, a Spell Pierce. Looks like, wow, that's a lot of those. 3 Grim Lavamancers, a
Wow.
Billion Click, 3 Submerge, an Ancient Grudge, a Destructive Revelry, a Grafdigger's Cage, and 1 Sulfuric Vortex. Well, I love Lavamancers, so I expect to see all 3 of those come in. And again, 3 is a lot of that card. A Spell Pierce, maybe the Vendilion Click. You have to love Submerge.
Yeah,
think.
definitely in this matchup.
Outside of that, I don't think that he needs that Pyroblast or Red Blast. I mean, arguments can be made for having those, but I think the cards that are actually pretty good against you in this matchup aren't blue. The Deathrite Shaman, Tarmogoyf, those cards. So, maybe he brings those in, maybe he doesn't, but I think 3 Grim Lavamancers in this matchup are a slam dunk.
Yeah, being able to kill Delver of Secrets or Death Right Shaman is huge.
Controlled, can't control Tarmogoyf. You can kind of control Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, and either way, I mean, it's a way that you can potentially kill a Tarmogoyf in combination with a Bolt, like Bolt and Lavamancers.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there. In terms of Steven's side, he's got 2 copies of Gary Charm, 2 Clicks, 2 Vendilion Clicks, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Submerge, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Null Rod, 1 Disfigure, 1 Dismember, 1 Life from Loam, 1 Thoughtseize. Life from Loam I like a lot just because, you're playing against basically a Stifle Wasteland deck, so being able to get back your lands, let alone the possibility of a Wasteland lock, is huge. I like the Disfigure as well. It's a way to kill Delver of Secrets, and even though that's all it can really kill, it's an important card to kill there. I'm not sure if I bring it in. Dismember is also another card I like. It's just a way to potentially kill Tarmogoyf as well as the Delver of Secrets. Submerge, he's also got those 2 copies of Submerge, obviously very good against Rug Delver, so that's probably coming in as well. But beyond that, there's really not a lot of cards that he has for this matchup.
I do think that Mann is favored in this matchup. I also think that, just getting the opportunity to watch a lot of Legacy, I just think that Bug Delver is the best Delver deck. Myself personally. Deathrite Shaman is just so good. I mean, all the cards in the deck are so good. That's the thing I think I like about it the most. You've got Delver, you've got Tarmogoyf, you've got Deathrite Shaman. You've got him to, kind of win the war as far as card advantage is concerned. Ponder and Brainstorm, of course, are completely busted. Abrupt Decay is great. I've never been a big fan of Daze in this deck, but I understand why he plays it. And I don't know, it just seems like a matchup that is favorable for Bug Delver here.
Yeah, I mean, and your strategy is a little different than Rug Delver. The problem with Rug Delver, I think, nowadays is there's a lot of miracles out there. And miracles has kind of, it doesn't expose itself to getting wastelanded or stifled as much as some of the other decks in the past. So, and plus they have 4 copies of Terminus, so they actually have more answers than Nimble Mongooses. In the past, that card was really good. So, with all the miracles out there, it's kind of hard for Rug Delver to kind of succeed like it used to. You see all the top players, a lot of them are playing miracles this weekend. Bug Delver, one, Deathrite Shaman is incredibly powerful, so just getting to play that card in this format is huge. Plus, you have cards like Hymn to Torek and Liliana Veil, which can be really effective against the Miracle or Control-based decks. So you're right. I think Bug Delver, the access to black just gives you access to cards that kind of help you in matchups that historically Rug Delver has somewhat difficulty with.
Yeah. If you guys are just joining us home, we do appreciate having you. Star City Games Open Series here in Baltimore, Maryland. We've already crowned 1 champion here, Danny Jessup with Mono Black Devotion. You got excited about M15? Too bad.
Too bad. Sorry.
Too bad. Black's too good.
Thoughtseize Pack Rats still rule all.
It was actually Urborg and Liliana that got the job done.
Oh, yes. The Liliana Vest in his sideboard,
Okay.
that likely did not come in.
That's actually what changed everything. But Danny Jessup did win our standard open tournament with Mono Black Devotion. We are in round 4 of 9 of our Legacy Open here. We also got a Modern Premier IQ running side by side, 372 for Legacy, 205 for Modern. So big shout out to everybody who did come out and play today. But right now we do watch Justin Uppal battle Stephen Mann in the Bug versus Rug Delver matchup. Of course, your tweets at SCG Live, hashtag SCGBALT. People wondering if we answer tweets while we're live. Of course we do.
Of course we answer
What kind of
tweets.
question is that?
Stephen Mann here. He's going to be on the draw, so good news for Uppal. His deck functions really well in the play because of how tempo-oriented it is. Not sure if he has a one-drop, that all-important Delver Secrets. Looks like he has, yeah, it doesn't look that great.
His hand stinks.
A lot of lands. He's got one of those lands is a Wasteland, but no action on turn one. That's a rough spot for Rug Delver. I'm not sure you can keep a hand like this.
I think that this is as close as you can get to an auto mulligan with this deck. You've got a bunch of he's got a bunch of fetch lands, a Tarmogoyf from Submerge. That's it. And then one of the lands is a Wasteland. You have to have something new on turn one. It's either got to be a Ponder, a Brainstorm, a Probe, a Delver, a Neomongus. You have to do something on turn one. It's too important, not only in this deck but in Legacy in general.
Yeah, you just have like Submerge isn't good unless you're pressing an advantage. Like if you go one drop, two drop, and then like you submerge their play to stall them a little bit and keep attacking. Submerge just to slow them down a little bit when you have nothing in play. It's really not that effective. So, and even if you cast the Tarmogoyf, it's likely going to be a 1/2.
Yeah.
You know, so really not that impressive of a hand. I think Drew Levin might have wrote an article about Rug Delver in the past on Star City Games, talking about how there's a certain Rug Delver's the opening hands that you need to keep. It's pretty simple. If you don't have anything to do on turn one, you can't keep that hand.
Yeah.
The one drop creatures are hugely important, and short of that, you need at least like Ponder Tarmogoyf. Like you need something to do. You need a threat to commit to the board on turn two, or you need some sort of play on turn one, whether it's Ponder or Brainstorm, or casting one of your one drop creatures.
And I agree with that assessment. You need to do things early and often with this deck. You can't win a long game.
Yeah.
You know that.
Like if you can't play a one drop creature on turn one, you better have Ponder, Brainstorm plus Tarmogoyf in your hand in order to keep that hand.
Mann did keep his 7, so Uppal's going to lay out his 6. We'll see what the youngster can find. There's a Volcanic, a Misty, a Nimble, a Goyf, a Brainstorm. That's
all right. Vastly superior hand.
Yeah, not the best hand I've ever seen, but it's a keep. There's a Misty, and there is the Nimble. I'm going to go get a Tropical Island with that bad boy.
Yeah, so he's got a one drop, he's got a two drop, and then he's got a Brainstorm. So not much more you can ask for on a multi-6. Looks like Steven's got a reasonable hand. He's got a couple of Ponders. Looks like he has a Force of Will as well.
Looks like he might be considering forcing this.
Well, it is a difficult card for him to answer. He's got to be concerned about a daze here from Justin, but yeah, looking at his hand, he doesn't really have a lot of ways to. He doesn't even have a Tarmogoyf, so yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised here if he just forces, especially with Justin on 6 cards.
Yeah. Yep, force removing Ponder. Justin can't fight back. Now, if you're Justin, I don't think you're unhappy with that because you kind of catch up in the card battle.
Yeah.
But Nimble Mongoose, as you mentioned, is a great card against him. Tarmogoyf's not that great against Bug Delver because of Abrupt Decay. There's a Wasteland.
So let's see how Justin wants to navigate this turn. I kind of like just getting the Tarmogoyf out there. Not a lot of reason. I mean, I understand that you might want a Wasteland, hoping that maybe you'll catch Steven off guard, but I don't know.
I understand why he's not playing Tarmogoyf. He plays Scalding Tarn and then he's going to cast a Brainstorm. So it's a Forked Bolt, there's a Submerge, and then there's a Scalding Tarn. He'll put some cards back, make it a perfect Brainstorm. He might be scared of running his Tarmogoyf into a daze there.
Okay.
I don't know if he can afford to, try to play this game where I hope you don't have days at this point. Maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah, that's reasonable. It's reasonable.
Wasteland, the draw from Mann. Especially because he saw Daze last game, so he knows to play around a little bit, even though we don't know if Daze is actually still in Steven's deck or not.
So next turn, Justin can play the Wasteland, cast a Tarmogoyf, leaving Wasteland up if he needs to pay for Daze, and then actually activate the Wasteland if he wants to.
Which is a pretty good sequence of events.
Yeah. Now Steven has his own Wasteland decision. Not sure if he has another Brainstorm or Ponder. He's got a lot of lands in his hand. And it looks like he does have a Brainstorm, so he'll be able to shuffle away some of those lands if he wants to. This deck doesn't really need that many lands in play. 3 is pretty much the ideal number. He does have 1 copy of Jace the Mind Sculptor, but not even sure if he has that in against Rug Delver after board. So 3 lands, pretty much all he needs to function with this deck.
Well, there's a sacrificing of the fetch land. Uppal. We'll draw a mystery card now. It's a Nimble Mongoose. That one's pretty important.
Yeah, very good draw there.
Might change the way he actually wants to lead off this turn. I think he was committed to playing Tarmogoyf. Yeah, it looks like he still is, as he's going to reach for 2 mana. So there is Tarmogoyf.
Well, the good thing about this play is if he thinks that man goes Liliana the Veil on his turn, then he'll have to down ticket to kill the Tarmogoyf, and then it'll be at 1, so Nimble Mongoose can come into play next turn and potentially kill the Liliana the Veil.
Yes.
Again, Liliana the Veil, one of the few ways to actually, for Steven's deck, to kill a Nimble Mongoose.
It's a Brainstorm. 3 cards coming from Man. There's a Wasteland and a Brainstorm. Looks like a Deathrite Shaman may have been the 3rd card there. So
Wow.
Pretty good Brainstorm.
Pretty good Brainstorm there. He's got 2 copies of Wasteland now, and again, he does have that Submerge still, and a Deathrite Shaman, so it could be a really good turn for Steven next turn. He can Submerge the Tarmogoyf and Wasteland the green source, potentially try to keep it off the board.
Average.
And get a Deathrite Shaman to play.
He has two Submerges. I mean, he does have to put 2 of these cards back. That's actually pretty tough. But he's got a really, really nice hand. Again, it's all about just converting the resources, actually getting to use them. And if he is able, to do that, again, I think he'll win this game.
Yeah, he doesn't have to sack the Verdant Catacombs this turn. He can draw the Wasteland, then sack it to not draw another land. So let's see how Steven decides to navigate this. He's in pretty good shape right here. Justin did mulligan to 6, but let's see if he can put a lock onto this game.
Gonna let that resolve. We'll see if he sacks or not. I think that's the big question. And he will. Okay.
I'm surprised he didn't want that second Wasteland.
Gonna go get an Underground Sea. I haven't touched 2. That
Just given, it's so good against Rug Delver.
That Wasteland interests me a little bit, especially when my opponent did mulligan this game too.
Yeah, and you have 2 copies of Submerge. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's not like you're desperate to find an answer for Tarmogoyf. Yeah, your opponent mulligans. I believe he missed the land. No, he didn't miss the land drop, but with 2 copies of Submerge, I just really love the Wasteland there.
It looks like Man's gonna fire for Submerge on the end of turn. Targeting little Tarmogoyf. Uppal's gonna take a look at the grip. Tarmogoyf's gonna go on top of it now. Man will draw a card. It's a copy of Delver's Secrets. I think this turn, you probably want to play Wasteland first and then deploy. It's either Deathrite or Delver. I'm not sure which one's better in this instance. I think it's probably Deathrite. I think you just want to get that online.
Well, the only bad thing about that is Steven doesn't have any other lands in his hand. So if he goes Wasteland, you're Tropical to keep the Tarmogoyf off the board. And Justin was slow rolling a Wasteland, you could be in danger. But I think Steven's pretty confident he hasn't been slow rolling another Wasteland. And he's going to draw a Tarmogoyf. So I think this line of play is probably best. Again, you expose yourself a little bit, but not that much. And I think if you're Justin, you pretty much have to get rid of the Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, there's Fork Bolt to do it. But this actually does open the window here for Man to start getting to work with Delver. Mr. Rainforest is a pretty big draw too. Now he has a Brainstorm in his hand already. That gives him a green source of mana, and he can actually make it a perfect Brainstorm if he wants to go that route. He can also set up his Delver too. So that was a really, really good draw there for Man.
Yeah, I don't think I would sack my Misty Rainforest until I needed to.
I wouldn't either.
I mean, you really wouldn't have a good Brainstorm because you only have 2 cards left in your hand anyway. Try to get a little more cards in your hand. And also, you don't want to expose yourself to Submerge just yet. So obviously, being able to set up Delver to flip next turn is important. So maybe he just wants to cast Brainstorm. But
yeah, if you don't have to open yourself with Submerge, I don't think you do.
yeah. Now, though, with Justin committing a Nimble Mongoose to the board, you might want to try to find something. You really want this Delver to flip in order to stay ahead of the race. So that's probably a concern for Steven.
Thankfully, he can control that if he wants to. He can cast a Brainstorm as upkeep with the Delver trigger on the stack, put Submerge on top.
Yeah, so I think that's what he wants to do. He wants to make sure he can win this race.
So hit 1, and 2, and 3. Tarmogoyf, Brainstorm, and Delver Secrets. See what cards he wants to put back. There's also the chance here for Man to, put some cards back, reveal to Delver, and then sacrifice the fetch land if he wants to. Again, not sure if he wants to open himself up to Submerge or not.
Well, it would be pretty sweet if he just put back the Tarmogoyf and the Brainstorm, revealed Brainstorm, flipped Delver, drew the Brainstorm, then sacked the Misty for an Underground Sea and played a second Delver. That way, he gets more pressure onto the board without having to get a green source And again, he has a second copy of Brainstorm, so he can find a green mana if he needs it.
Yeah,
But right now, he just doesn't need a green mana.
That's true.
And he's winning the race for sure if he has 2 Delvers flipped. So I don't know. Let's see how Steven decides to do here.
I actually do like the no green plan a lot. He doesn't need green mana to win.
Yeah, for right now, he doesn't, like, if he wants to get rid of Tarmogoyf, he doesn't really need it. I definitely don't like exposing my Submerge, like showing my opponent that I have a Submerge.
Okay.
Especially because you can't use it this turn.
Sure,
I'd rather show him I have a Brainstorm than a Submerge, because now Justin knows that he has to worry about a Submerge.
Interesting draw there in Pyroblast. Wasn't sure if Uppal was going to bring that in or not. This will be an attack.
So this is huge now, because if Uppal didn't know about the Submerge, he likely just leaves with a Tarmogoyf here. Now he knows about the Submerge. There's no reason for him to cast Tarmogoyf, and he could actually cast a Blast on the Delver. So I think giving away that little bit of information might have been a slight mistake there for Steven. Because, again, you can't use the Submerge this turn.
Yeah. And truth be told, there's a real chance now that you might not ever get to use the Submerge. He might not play a creature that's submergible.
Yeah.
He might just try to ride Nimble Mongoose to victory, which is actually a legitimate game plan against Bug Delver. The only way to really get that thing off the table is either try to trade with it, with a creature, or Liliana the Veil.
Yeah, and, now Steven basically doesn't have a creature in play. He's got a Tarmogoyf, which likely he will cast given that he kept it. However, we know it's not that good because Justin does have a Submerge.
The draw here is a Brainstorm from Man.
So suddenly Steven was going to be winning this race, and now he won't be.
Yeah, he's got some work to do now.
Yeah, he's got to get some pressure in play and somehow find a way to deal with that Nimble Mongoose.
I think he does have the tools to get back into it, as Uppal does draw days to go along with that Tarmogoyf and Submerge in his hand. But can't stop, won't stop. In for 3 we go. Man's going to go down. It might actually only be attack for 1. I believe he has Threshold, so yeah, he should be going down at 12. Now there is a Tarmogoyf. See if Man wants to fire up Submerge now.
Yeah,
he's gonna wait.
Really, you can do it any time.
Yeah.
No reason to do it at the end of the turn. You can just draw your card. Get a little more information.
Delver trigger on the stack. It's time for a Brainstorm. Hit 1 and 2 and 3. So a couple of cards added here. Daze among them. Looks like 2 Dazes and a Liliana.
Wow.
But
So,
no third land.
No third land there, but he did get a Daze, which is important because Uppal has a Daze of his own. So if Steven tries to Submerge and doesn't sequence things correctly, he could have actually played right into Daze. However, now it looks like Steven's in okay shape, but he won't be able to get that Goyf into play this turn.
I want to put back put back a Daze and reveal it, and then shuffle away, and then have one of the Dazes in my hand and get it.
That would be sweet.
Maybe I'm too flashy, but that's what I want to do.
Well, he just reveals the Submerge. I mean, I think the Submerge is probably the safest play.
Because he knows
about it already. But yeah, this is an awkward spot for Steven because he doesn't have, he can't actually get that Tarmogoyf into play this turn. So still has some work to do. And he's not necessarily Brainstorm locked because he can sack the Misty Rainforest, but he doesn't know if there's going to be a land on top of his deck if he does sack it. So
yeah, a less flashy play is to Submerge the Tarmogoyf and then Daze it on the way down.
yeah.
That's less flashy and probably going to work. Uppal does cast the Tarmogoyf right off the top of his deck again. And there is the Daze, going to pick up the Underground Sea. Now Uppal is going to stare at his Daze, and he's going to cast it, which is going to force Man to sacrifice his fetch land if he wants to win the war.
And Justin knows that he can pay 1 for this by sacking the Misty Rainforest. But Steven also brainstormed the turn before, so maybe he put cards on top of his library that he wanted to keep.
Round number 3. Active player, please finish your turn and proceed to 5 additional turns. Available judges, please find an open match.
So we'll go assertion.
And this Daze play also sets Steven back on mana a turn, so that Liliana the Veil in his hand won't be entering play anytime soon.
Just turned on Submerge too.
Just turned on Submerge as well, yeah. And Uppal might just use this on Steven's upkeep, knowing that he can't Daze it anymore.
I actually like the fact that Uppal doesn't really have to rush the Submerge Yeah, I mean, right now.
Oh, now
obviously,
that he has a land, now that he
Yeah.
played a land, he doesn't have to rush it.
Delver is tapped. Force of Will's the draw. No blue card to go along with that for Man. Just going to play the underground, and now there's Tarmogoyf. In comes the Delver. It's tie game now at 8-8. Uppal's going to attack. See if he can find anything that helps. Ponder is not bad.
It's not a bad one. Needs to hit another submersion of both probably to be in good shape, but
Stifle Brainstorm Daze is okay.
that's not bad. He's got to get that daze so he can daze the Tarmogoyf when he comes back down. Probably wants to draw daze and brainstorm in that order.
I think so. Stifle stinks right now.
Yeah, I'd put the Stifle on the bottom. Make sure you draw that daze, because if he does have the submerge in his hand, then submerging the Goyf right here, and then you attack for 3, drop Steven to 5.
I think part of the reason we're seeing this play too is kind of mimicking what Steven did earlier. Submerge plus Daze.
Yeah.
Uppal doing the same thing now, cognizant of that's an option available to him. So he does submerge to Tarmogoyf. Man's going to draw a card. He didn't play a land last turn. Well, he played the underground, but that's a land I already knew about.
Yeah.
So now he's going to play this. This is going to get dazed, just like what we saw on the other side of things. And now the brakes are on.
Yeah, you can't die to bolt. So.
Yep.
Let's see here. We're going to see that. Brainstorm main phase to find the bolt. Nope.
Just going to wait. Some patience from Uppal. Daze the draw for Man. That daze is actually pretty important, not because it's dazed, but because it's a blue card. Uppal even more patient, quickly drawing Stifle before passing the turn back. Man will cast a Brainstorm. So 3 cards coming for Steven. It's a Delver, looks like a Deathrite, and a Mystery.
Yeah, I'm surprised by Justin's line here, because if he casts a Brainstorm the first turn, he can try to find a Submerge. I mean, he knows there's a Stifle on top of his deck, so he's only really looking at 2 cards. But if you find a Submerge or a Bolt, you're in really good shape. You get rid of the Delver Secrets and you drop Steven down to 2. And if it's a Submerge, it's huge because he's just going to draw a Delver Secret. So that's going to be on chump block duty.
Oh, 1/1 Delver, not 3/3
Yeah, a
Delver.
1/1 Delver. So I'm surprised Justin didn't just pull the trigger on the Brainstorm the first chance he had. Now it's a really awkward situation because Steven actually has the Force of Will now turned on, and he's given himself more time to try to find a Tarmogoyf or a third land. That would be devastating if he gets that Liliana into play.
What I actually think is really, really interesting about that too is, if he, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? If he just aggressively brainstorms and misses, he can just lock himself.
Yeah, but again, if the 2 cards below the Stifle aren't of use, then you're in bad shape regardless.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
A couple of cards coming from the Brainstorm. There's some Nimble Mongoose, Tarmogoyf, and Scalding Tarn. Gonna put a couple of cards back here. Stifle is almost certainly got to be one that goes back. He'd have to, stifling a fetch line right now doesn't matter. Stifling Deathrite Shaman activation might matter. I'm not even sure that Stifling Liliana matters all that much. In comes the Nimble Mongoose. There's the trade. There's the Tarn. Uppal going to quickly search for a Tropical Island, I imagine.
Are we going to see a Delver Secrets here?
So Delver or Goyf?
I know he has a Goyf in his hand. He might have drawn Delver too. I kind of like Delver here. Yeah, and he's going to play the Delver. Oh, no, he's going to play Nimble Mongoose. Even better.
I think Goose plus Delver this turn, right?
Okay, well, that'd be huge.
Does he want to play in a Daze?
Yeah, that was the main reason I didn't want to play Goyf, because you don't want to play in the Daze. But he is going to play it. And now Steven can daze that and then play a Liliana the Veil next turn. So
I'm assuming Liliana's the top card of his deck. Yep.
And it is. And
Uppal is
Uppal has no
cardless.
cards, no cards, so doesn't have to worry about a daze or anything like that.
I do think Man has done a really nice job of navigating this game. Getting himself into basically like this. This is a perfect situation. He's done a nice job of exhausting all of the resources, coming out ahead. Now he plays Liliana, takes it down, takes care of that. Uppal's got no cards. He knows the card that's on top of his deck is not a lot of help, so he passes the turn back. Man does have Liliana, so now he can start going after the hand. Of course, he's got that Deathrite Shaman to play to start picking away. So we're going to go up.
Ooh. Wow. I think this is going to have to get forced, right? He does have a
Maybe.
Delver. I think you force here. You're gonna you lose
Yeah.
one of the cards anyway.
Yep.
I mean, to the Liliana
Liliana
activation. So.
yeah. So Vendilion Click came to gum things up.
Yeah, you have a win condition in play. You don't have to worry about Delver Sequence is irrelevant.
There's a Scalding Tarn, so that's a brick. Deathratch Shaman gonna go to work on Uppal's life total. Down to 5 goes the youngster. Man's gonna untap. He'll take a draw. This is a Ponder. Time to take a look at a couple of cards. Tarmogoyf among them. There's also an Abrupt Decay. Man very quickly keeps. Gonna add some mana. That is a Tarmogoyf. Liliana's gonna tick up. I'm not sure there's a way out of this one for Uppal. Yeah, and he's going to extend the hand. Steve Mann's going to win this match over Justin Uppal, 2-0. Bug Delver, expertly navigated by Stephen Mann, taking down Rug Delver.
Yeah, and this is kind of the problem with Rug Delver is when you're playing against a deck that's, you know, very low curve, it's hard to really